Water,
They're rapid
rapid in leaf,
and they got some
wet soil,
Just
and put them on their back. Alright, so that's how some amphibians will keep their stuff moist, or their eggs moist. There's another thing was, what do a lot of amphibians go through? At least frogs and salamanders. Complete metamorphosis, where they look like a completely different organism when they're born, and then they grow into something completely different. So that's basically what we talked about yesterday. Today we're going to go through the groups of them. And I know it's not written up there, but does anybody know what another type of salamander kind of salamander is?
Gecko.
No.
Lizard.
Y'all ever heard of newts?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I didn't leave a space for that, so right that beside salamanders.
So salamanders and newts. What else goes with frogs?
Toads.
Toads.
Yep.
And we'll talk about kind of the difference. How many of y'all ever heard of a Sicilian? I'm not talking about like I'm from Sicily, Italy, but a Sicilian. Alright, so that's a whole different type of amphibian you guys have probably never seen. If you saw it, you thought it was something else. So those are your three groups of modern amphibians.
Okay. The first one we're going to talk about specifically is salamanders. There's more than 300 species of salamanders, and they all have a long body, 4 walking limbs, and a tail.
So they keep their tails. They never lose their tails, whereas frogs, as they develop, they lose their tails. What's one thing that's pretty amazing that a salamander can do?
Regrow.
What's that? What's the scientific word for that? Regrow something.
Regenerate.
Regenerate. They can regenerate limbs. And I showed a video for my biology students where they, in the lab, they cut off a salamander leg, a certain salamander, and within 2 months, that thing's grown back, 2 or 3 months, and it's the exact same as it was. All right? Can humans do that?
No.
Does anybody know why? What is our defense to losing a limb or major clotting, scabbing, and then
You wouldn't know.
Scar.
scarring? So we scar. Now, what does scarring keep us? What does it do for us? Keeps us what? Alive. So great defense mechanism, but keeps us alive. But since we scar, salamanders don't scar. So that's why they can regenerate. Right? And so we scar, we can't. So they're doing research. How many of y'all seen The Amazing Spider-Man? That whole movie's about that. The guy, he's got an amputated arm, and he wants to try to figure out how can we take it from these lizards and salamanders and be able to regenerate, and he turns into a lizard. Starts killing people, right? And it's not real, of course. But they are doing that science in the lab to try to figure out, can we unlock the scarring mechanism in humans? And if you can, because I don't want to, don't write this down, but I'm pretty sure that in the embryo or very, very young in development, we can regenerate things. Right? So they're trying to figure out how we can maybe use that for amputees and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Salamanders walk with a side-to-side movement that may be similar to ancient tetrapods. The largest family of salamanders do not have lungs, so they exchange gases through the lining of their skin and mouth.
What is a tetrapod? Tetra means what? 4. So 4 limbs. Abby's going to come up here and demonstrate how they walk side to side. You ready? You're not going to come up here and demonstrate that? All right, so what basically is, when they walk side to side, means their right arm, or this is my left arm and leg go, and then this one. It's not alternate like a lot of people, right, left, alternate. They walk side to side because of that. And it does say the largest family of salamanders do not have lungs. It did not say salamanders do not have lungs. It just said the largest family of salamanders do not have lungs. Some salamanders do have lungs. Some have gills. Some have both.
Y'all got this far?
No.
It's, again, like salamanders. I used to love catching them when I was a kid. How many of y'all fish? When do you use salamanders? How many of y'all bass fish? When's the best time to use a lizard or salamander looking thing? When the bass are on bed. Because what are the salamanders going to go do? What are they going to eat? The fish eggs. Alright? So the big bass is on the bed protecting those eggs, and so you flip a lizard or a salamander over there and they attack it because they think it's going to try to eat their eggs, and that's when you catch one of those big bass on bed. Man, I thought y'all were fishermen.
Are we ready? Family, don't ask me to pronounce. They're the lungless salamanders, and these are the most common kind. Tell me how to pronounce that.
Oh, that is Playthodontidae. I just made something up. They're longless. Means they don't have a what? So how do they have to breathe?
Gills, through the skin.
Through their skin. These ones mainly through their skin. So they have to keep their skin what? Moist at all times. So they can have a way for oxygen to diffuse in and out. If they dry up their skin, then it's not going to be any good. That one looks like it's had a lot to eat. It looks pretty plump. But this is the most common type.
We got it?
I like the color of that.
It is pretty color. Oh, what do we call that? Go back real
Oh,
quick.
I'm sorry.
What do we call that when it's a different color on top than the bottom?
Counter shade.
Counter shading. Good job, Christian. Counter shading. Good. No, it wasn't. It was very necessary. Just hit the arrow.
Okay, our larvae and adults are carnivores. And some of the invertebrates they eat are insects, worms, and snails, and some of the vertebrates they eat are fish and frogs.
Real simple, Tyrone. What is a carnivore?
Someone who eat plants.
It's an omnivore.
Meat. Eat straight.
Tell them, Justin. Straight meat. Alright, so they're meat eaters. So they'll eat, it's just some of the stuff, insects, worms, and snails. Alright, here's a good question. Alright, you ready for Miss Beardy? Is a tadpole a frog?
No.
It's not?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. So they'll eat frogs. They may not eat an adult frog,
I was gonna say.
but they eat tadpoles, which is a frog.
What about those like real small frogs?
They'll eat those too. I mean, they could, possibly. There are big, I showed y'all the picture of the giant salamanders, correct? The giant Chinese salamanders. They're humongous, so of course they're going to eat bigger things. They're gonna eat, all right, if they eat fish eggs, that mean they're eating fish?
Well, yeah.
Pretty much, basically, yeah. All right, so, because it's not like us. You know, when we buy a chicken egg, those are sterile eggs, all right? There was never any reproduction. Chickens just lay eggs. That's how they get rid of the eggs. They're not fertilized. So if you went to the grocery store and bought some eggs, they're never going to hatch into a chicken because there's no embryo in there. But fish eggs that are in the water have fish in them. So they usually eat, that means they're eating fish also. Are you going to go blind? I hope not.
Y'all got this one. Next, we're going to talk about frogs, and we have, this is the largest group of amphibians, and we have over 3,000 species of frogs.
And they go from being really, 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 really small to really, 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 really big. What's the common ones around here that you know of? Tree frogs. Y'all ever caught a tree frog? They're green. They got those long toes with like those suckers on the end of them. They're real pretty green. And somebody said bullfrogs. All right. What do you think this is?
That's a
That's a
Poison dart frog.
Why they call them poison dart frogs?
Because they're poisonous
No.
and dark.
Huh?
So they're poisonous and they're dark.
No, dart, not dark.
Dark.
Dart. And dart.
Because they really fast.
How many of you ever seen the movie Apocalypto?
No.
A lot of the ones ever seen that? I love that movie. About the Mayans.
Oh,
yeah.
And they're going in there to the woods and getting the indigenous people out of there, and then they sacrifice them. And that one guy's trying to get away from them. But what does he do? He goes and catches one and takes an arrow or a dart and rubs it on its back, and then he shoots them with it. And that's a very, very toxic toxin. I saw one video where they shot a howler monkey out of the trees, and within like 5 or 6 seconds, the howler monkey fell out of the tree dead. Very, very toxic. And you don't, they're poisonous because a lot of them secretes it. They're not real venom glands, so you got to ingest it. And then you've got frogs that are like this. The Goliath frog. Alright? Look how big that frog is. That thing's humongous. Now keep in mind, this guy right here is 7'6". So that tells you how big that frog is. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. He's not 7'6". I was trying to make y'all think this frog was like 8 foot long or something. But anyway, that's a big old frog. African Goliath frog. There's some other pictures in here. That's a big one. So, where's the other one? There's another really good one in here. Maybe it's this one. Alright, pretty big little frog there. There's an oxymoron, big little frog.
All right, they have tailless bodies,
The adults do, yes.
long muscular hind limbs, webbed feet, exposed eardrums, and bulging eyes.
And those are some things you'll have to find when we dissect the frog, is you're going to have to find the eardrums, and a lot of times we'll pop those eyes out and look at the eyes and that kind of stuff. They have webbed feet for swimming in the water. These long muscular limbs make them what? Able to do what?
Jump.
Jump really high. What else does it make them? Makes them table fare. How many of y'all have fried frog legs? How many of y'all actually like them?
That's disgusting.
I didn't like them. Now, the only time I had them was at like a casino buffet, so they might not have been very good ones, but I didn't like the flavor. Do what? What did you say? Well, we tried when I was a kid. We had our own homemade bow and arrow. Actually, we had a bow and arrow, and we had it, and we had a fishing line tied to it, and we shot like 3 of them and just bounced off. So I guess the thing wasn't very sharp. We tried though. I did get in trouble when I was like in the 2nd grade for going and getting a kitchen knife, and me and my buddy dissected a frog.
Ew.
And no, I didn't turn out to be super good.
Bodies are adapted for jumping. The elongated bones in their hips, legs, and feet. They're for increased speed and power, and their hind legs have fused bones that absorb the shock of the landing.
What was the name of that movie or that book? Did y'all read that short story? Was it Mark Twain about the jumping frog? Is that who wrote it?
I don't know which
I believe so.
Nobody.
I've heard, I know what you're talking about.
None of y'all ever read that?
Mark Twain wrote
Huh?
a book about the whale.
That's Moby Dick. And that wasn't Mark Twain.
That was Herman Melville.
Alright. But anyway, think about it though. If a frog jumps 2 foot high, that's pretty impressive. Right? And think about it, that'd be like, I mean, I don't know the math, I'm not doing the math, I'm just throwing out a number there. But it'd be like us jumping like 15 or 20 foot high and then landing. Our skeletons aren't made for that. Yeah, we have cartilage in our knees that help with the shock absorbing, right? But if anybody jumped off of like the roof of a house,
Yes.
all right? And if you don't land right, it hurts. You break a leg, an ankle, hurt your back, whatever. But they have specialized bones that are fused together for that shock absorption. That's pretty impressive to jump, to be small, really small, and jump that high. Does anyone know what the thing that can jump the highest per body size is? No.
Flea.
Flea. Yes, a flea jumps the highest compared to body size. I mean, it's like 200 times their body size.
It's big.
They're like tiny. They can like it'd be like us jumping like 200 feet or something like that. Pretty neat. What?
Can they fly?
They jump, man. Yeah, I think they can. I don't know. I'm not an expert. With them big, long, tasty legs there to eat there, Christian. You done, Christian?
Alright, toads are one family of frogs. They have rougher, bumpier skin, shorter legs, not very good jumpers, and their glands make toxins that protect them from predators.
If you didn't know there's a such thing as toads, what would you call that?
Frog.
A frog that's what? Maybe sick or infected with something or whatever. I mean, you got frogs that have this rough, this smooth, moist skin. And all of a sudden, you got these toads with these just nasty, nasty bumps looking things all over them. So people used to think, if I touch one of those, what am I going to get? Warts. All right? Are you going to get warts? They just, one of them things, they're like, man, they look rough and nasty. They can live in your drier environments. They still need to get to water so they can lay their eggs and all that kind of stuff. But they're going to live in the drier environments. And they're, again, like they said, they got really, really rough, nasty skin. You don't say, ooh, I have some fried toad legs. Why?
Because that's disgusting.
Well, it might be disgusting too,
Oh,
but
they're short.
they're short. They're not muscular. They're not made for jumping. Because I don't know if y'all know, when you eat something, you're eating its muscles. All right? So if it doesn't have very big muscles, you're not going to eat it. All right? So we don't eat fried toad legs because they're short and not very muscular. It wouldn't be very appeasing. Christian, good?
They live in every environment on Earth except for the poles and the driest desert.
It does not say they do not live in the deserts. It says the driest desert. So yes, frogs can live in some deserts if they get enough moisture, but not the driest of the deserts. And like I said, there's range from size and color. All right, what do we call it? If this thing right here is poisonous and this one's not, what do we call that? All right, now, or say this one. Say this one's poisonous, this one's not. What is this one doing to this one? What is that called in
It's
science?
just chilling.
Mimicry. All right? Because mimicry is mimicking what it looks like. Because if predators know this thing right here is poisonous, if I eat that thing, I'm going to get really sick, it's going to be really nasty taste. Well, I'm going to make myself look just like it so they won't bother me. So they'll leave me alone. So a lot of things, just because it's really bright, that usually means what in the animal world? It's really bright color. It's poisonous or venomous. All right, don't mess with it. All right, but a lot of things aren't, but they just make themselves look like that because of that. All the other predators, like, man, that thing's bright enough, I'm not gonna eat that.
All right, the next group is the Sicilians. They're legless, burrowing amphibians, and they live in the tropics, such as South America.
What do you think most people mistake those as? Earthworms. All right, maybe a snake. All right, but why do they think they live in the tropics?
So there aren't earthworms there.
Ma'am?
There aren't other earthworms there.
No.
Because of the weather.
Sir?
Weather.
What about the weather? You're right.
So it's not cold.
Well, think about what they're burrowing amphibians.
They got good soul.
What kind of, like, what, not good soil, but what kind of soil?
Rich.
You know,
Wet.
wet, moist soil. Alright? Y'all might not know, but some of the worst soils in the tropical rainforest. People think, man, it's tropical rainforest, that soil's going to be great. Why is tropical rainforest soil so bad?
Other plants.
Because it's got
There's so much vegetation there, as soon as there's anything put in the ground, those vegetation suck it up. So there's really a very thin layer of good topsoil. The rest of it ain't worth much anything. But it's moist because they are burrowing. Alright? Do they have arms and legs?
No.
So how are they going to burrow?
Be like worms. Eat the litter.
They don't eat the dirt. Talk about next. But think about it. They're burrowing. So if it's hard soil, they don't have arms and legs, it'll be hard to penetrate that soil. So they've got to live in tropical areas where there's lots of rain to keep the moisture in the soil.
All right, there's 160 species. They range from 4 inches to 5 feet. Their bended bodies make them look like giant earthworms.
All right, so again, that looks like a lot like an earthworm. If you look at it, it looks a heck of a lot like an earthworm, but it's not. It's a big range, 4 inches to 5 feet. So there's some big Sicilians. All right, lots of different colors, but they look a lot like a giant earthworm. And a lot of people mistake them as earthworms, but they're not. There's a couple different ways. I mean, Sicilians have eyes. Now, do you think their eyes are very good? Probably not, because they're living where? Underground. They're gonna have eyes. So, what sense do you think they're gonna have? Really have a good sense?
Hearing.
Smell. They're gonna have a very good sense of smell because they're underground. They don't need to see very well, all right? But they can smell, detect prey. What do you think they eat? You think they? I mean, what does a worm eat?
Dirt.
Dirt. Do you think they eat dirt?
No, you probably
No.
don't.
They don't. They eat other things.
They are predators. They search for earthworms and grubs. They have no arms or legs for burrowing, so they have to move like an earthworm. They use hydrostatic skeleton to stiffen its body and drive its head forward like a battering ram.
All right. So they do eat other earthworms. They eat grubs and other things that live in the dirt. All right. It says it has a hydrostatic skeleton. What does hydro mean?
Water.
Water. And probably like a very elementary way to explain it. You take a water bottle and you take some of that water out. Can you squeeze it pretty good? It's pretty easy to squeeze, isn't it? All right, but if I fill it completely up with water and put the top on, it doesn't squeeze near as easily. It's a lot stiffer, right? So that's kind of that's why they got to stay moist, is because they stiffen up, they kind of fill up the spaces with water, and then they can start using their head as a battering ram, like it says, and dig. They got to pound through that dirt because they don't have, they're not going to use their teeth to dig like some animals do. They're not having arms and legs to, like crabs and stuff do to dig. They got to use their head and pound through the dirt. Again, what's that called right there, Kevin? Dark on top, light on bottom? Kira? What's that called again? Different color on top than the bottom? Dark on top, light on bottom? Tell them, Justin. Counter shading. Counter shading. Shading.
All right, I have a Venn diagram for us to do, and it's going to have some characteristics of amphibians, and you're going to put it in the correct circle. You draw the circles up there so well.
Look, it's pretty simple. Look, if it's only frog, it goes here. If it's only salamander, it goes here. Only Sicilian, it goes there. If it's all three of them, of course, it goes in here. If it's just frog and Sicilian, it goes there. If it's only salamander and Sicilian, it goes there. You don't have to use your internet, your notes to look. Is this hard? Yes. Did me and Ms. Houston and Ms. Wagner search the internet to try to find an answer sheet? Yes. Is there one? Absolutely not. This is great. All right. So
This is not easy.
we had to do the same thing you are about to have to do.
Do you want to number these, 1 through, I think there's 17? You want to number them and put the numbers in the Venn diagram instead of writing out the characteristics, you can.
You see mine?
But guys, if you write them out, it may help you study. Just saying.